What moment in your life, or when was the moment in your life where you're like, I have to take control of what I'm doing. I have to take control of my life. I have to control what I'm doing. The name of the podcast is You Control You.
Yeah.
The goal is to help people take control of their own life. Stop just, oh, it's their fault, or, oh, I can't do this, and, oh, I can't do this, and just not driving their own car. When was that moment for you?
Way too young. Just way too young, probably 14, 15, in high school, parents divorcing, going through that. And, my mom struggled with depression, and my dad was also a musician. So, parents separating, I had a sister. My sister went with my mom. I stayed with my dad. So at that point, I was on my own. So that's where I had to take control. That's where I had to start making decisions. And they weren't always the best ones, right? I went to jail a couple of times. I made some bad choices, but it was also like shaped how and who I am now, and helped to hey, this isn't the right path. These aren't the right people. And that's led to going to Colorado and making better choices. And I already had the attachment to DJing and whatnot. Way too young. And it's like that for way too many kids, right? So that's why we're out here doing Gifts of Christmas. That's why I do this. That's why, every year we make sure that this continues. It's way bigger than me. It's the community. And I was forced to have to be a man before I needed to be one, when I should still be a kid. And if even being able to change that for one person, that's what's worth it. Worth all the effort.
Shit, I'm about to go wait in this place when you dropping the bass in. The beat is at the streets of awaken. I'm making to break my foot off of somebody's ass. I'm waiting for someone to say my name so I can annihilate them. Okay, then everyone was screaming the rape when I was kicking at the gate till it caved in. Belly scraping by, but now I'm paid. Look at the paper I raked and I'm caking like Jay-Z and Drake. And I hate when people say that I ain't killing shit. The game is my playpen. I punch you in the face and end up breaking your break bands. I'm far from Hollywood. I'm posted up at the days in. Even though the industry say I'm the latest sensation. Drop the song at the award show. Becoming complacent. Mama saw me on TV with just a bum in the basement. You a Captain Saber, who you
What's up, everyone? How you doing? You Control You podcast here with DJ Fusion. You know how we start off every podcast. What am I grateful for this weekend? Always life, always family. I'm grateful for a beautiful weekend. First of all, being able to go out to Cleveland, make that 7.5, 8 hour trip there and back safely. No one got in any accidents. No one had any troubles or major troubles. Very blessed to take home 2 gold medals and just have a very good weekend of competitions. So that was fun at the Arnold's Expo. That's what I'm most grateful for outside of family and life. So yeah. And you, my friend, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for community. I'm grateful for community and family and the chance to, wake up on this rock once again.
Yeah, I feel that. So those of you that don't know DJ Fusion, this man is I would say in the Midwest now, and if not across the country, has grown a big name as a DJ. He's has his own show on 93.1 Jamz here in Madison. And you've been with Jamz since 2004?
2008.
2008.
2008.
Man.
Going on a little over 15 years now.
15. Wow. What led you to, well, it wasn't Jamz then, but what led you to Jamz?
Well, I mean, it wasn't 93.1, it was 106.7 Jamz, but it was Jamz. I've been a DJ for, I don't know, 20 some years. I graduated high school as a DJ, and I grew up here in Wisconsin, graduated in Reedsburg, and about 2001, I moved out to Fort Collins, Colorado, and I was DJing out there and in Denver. And 2004, I came back. And 105.9 was the hip hop station that was in the area then, and they went off air. And about a year later, something popped up on 106.7, and it was just playing hip hop music. And it's mostly like throwbacks and, nothing like too new, but decent music, but, no voice, no personality or nothing. And then, 6 months later, J.D. Garfield popped on and, it kind of started to evolve. And I was already doing radio. I was doing internet radio. I was doing FM radio at that time. but I was living here in Madison.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of just like, all right, I live here. This station's here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's see if we can make something happen. When I came back, 105.9 was going down, so there was, you know, getting on over there. So what do we do? You know, I'm on 4 or 5 other radio stations.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to take that programming and put it on locally here?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I just built, grinded, and, you know, did what I could do to make that happen, man. And it took years. It wasn't just, hey, what's going on? I'm a DJ and I got a mix show. You know,
Yeah.
it was, you know, I mean, you know,
Everyone thinks it goes like that.
yeah, everybody thinks it does, but like, you know, it's like the station had to first exist and then had to start making a presence, right? So once JD Garfield was out there and 106.7 Jamz started to establish a presence, then I had to start going and finding them. You know, being just like the rappers handing out mixtapes to all the DJs, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like you can't just call the station, you can't just show up there. Like, you know, you've got to be in their face everywhere they go. And then it helps when you have community with you and behind you. You know, like I was already at a point where everybody here knew who I was. I was, you know, really well known in the Madison community and nightlife. I had 3 to 5 regular weekly residencies at that time. Madison's nightlife was really vibrant in the 2005, 2010 era. And, you know, there was a point where they were almost like intimidated that they didn't have me on because so many people were like, why aren't you messing with them? Why aren't you putting them on? You know, and then everybody in New York and LA was like, yeah, Fusion, he's a good dude. Like, you know, so it just got to this point where they were like, well, does everybody know you and we're not messing with you?
Doesn't make sense.
Right. So, you know, I just grew. You know, Payne was there before me. And, you know, he kind of kicked it off in DJ Southpaw. So it's been a cool evolution of what that station's been and to, you know, grow into the music director program and position and just kind of really running that station.
Yeah. When I moved to Madison in 2008, you were the first DJ that I ever saw or heard about, even before DJ Payne 1. Before him, you were the first DJ I seen, and then first DJ I actually worked with and things of that nature. So when you say people knew who you were, that was a name that really came up. Now you spoke about being on other stations and internet stations. How did that come about? Even though you lived here in Wisconsin, how did that come about, working with other stations?
You know, networking. A lot of it came down to knowing other people, knowing other DJs. You know, starting out, you know, in Denver, getting guest spots with other FM stations there, and then you know, big shouts out to DJ CEO Darren Glow. You know, he got me like kind of like my first regular FM residency in California, of all places, Bakersfield, California. Station's no longer on the air, but you know, it was basically the same thing as Jamz. So we kind of started from there, and then once you're on the air, you know, you start hearing from record label reps and whatnot, you know, and you know, they actually kind of helped me find 2 or 3 more stations. So, you know, as other people leave and stations close and open and come and go, you know, networking and, you know, just being a good person and a strong man of your character and your word, doing what you're going to say you do, you know, following through on your things, it makes doors open for you.
That seems to be the common theme of talking to people, is just have strong character, make sure you do what you say you're going to do, things of that nature. That just one thing that popped out to me right there is like the common theme with people that I'm bringing on that are finding success or working towards success. So that's dope. What would you say was your, whenever we're doing work, we can say we have multiple breakthrough moments or moments of like, oh yeah, this is that moment that helped me go. What would you say your first moment was in working in the music industry or with radio, where it was like, yep, that moment, that's like a chapter in my life. That did it right there. That helped me.
You know, there's a few parts of that, but you know, I would honestly say I worked with MSCR and MMSD to run some after school DJ programs, like 2008 to 2012, I did that with Tari Robinson, with DJ Fabulous, and Art Richardson, Menku. We were all working in these school programs, coming in at 3 p.m. till 5 p.m. and teaching kids music, teaching kids DJing, teaching kids breakdancing, teaching kids all the different elements of hip hop, but also keeping them off the street, right? But in order to get these opportunities, to be able to teach the kids, we had to develop a curriculum. And that was kind of cool. But the breakthrough moment wasn't in developing the curriculum. It was in actually teaching the kids. I learned more, not just about myself, but about music, teaching other kids music.
That's
and then, watching them take that through. And, we're talking after school programs for freshmen, sophomores, juniors, but to see these kids go and graduate and become DJs and travel the world and DJ, or even just become active members of this community and still be DJing a decade later. Like, that's really cool. But they're also just really great people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's dope. That was not what I was expecting for that answer. So that's really dope. I'm gonna wait for the community questions because I know that's a big deal with you. Who was when would you say, at what age did you start DJing? You said you were doing it in high school. So what age did you start?
I was probably like 16. I just got my driver's license. I didn't start out DJing hip hop music. I started out DJing house music and electronic music. And I went to a couple underground events, a couple raves, and I just really enjoyed watching the DJs and the turntablism. And I saw DJ Qbert, and that sparked a bunch. Hip hop's always been there, right? All the way back. But the biggest thing about growing up in Wisconsin, you're landlocked here. We're far from the east, we're far from the west. It takes time for music to get here, but it gives us the ability to enjoy a lot of different things. So you can't just grow up and just listen to hip hop. And I grew up in a family of musicians that weren't into hip hop or electronic music, but I started DJing in the 90s. In 96, 97, I started messing around with turntables, and I did it because my family, my dad and his 5 brothers, they had a family band, and it was like a Christian thing. They performed in churches, and it wasn't my thing. I didn't want to sing. I didn't want to play guitar. They were trying to get me to run sound and stuff like that. That's not my thing. Never been my thing. And I love my family and I love the opportunity, but I started getting into music by being a sound engineer because I didn't want to be on the stage. And then that evolved into working sound in the bars, probably way too young, for my dad's bands and whatnot, but learning things. And, one of the places that I host weekly events at now was one of the first places that I ran sound and got introduced into music at the Showboat Saloon, Wisconsin Dells. So it's kind of really crazy how full circle things kind of can come. But I didn't want to play guitar. I didn't want to sing. Never really wanted to be on the stage. But at the end of the day, I ended up falling in love with a culture behind a spinning disc. And, that doesn't just mean hip hop. It doesn't just mean house music. It's music. It's everything, So turntablism is a culture in itself that appreciates multiple genres.
Yeah. The beauty, I know the Reedsburg area. When I got moved away from Illinois, I moved like 30 or 40 minutes from Reedsburg, same kind of area, same kind of town. And Reedsburg actually was the closest movie theater outside of Madison. If we wanted to go to a movie theater, it was Reedsburg before Madison because it was 20 minutes closer. So very familiar. But I think, you hit the nail on the head with that because you grew up in rural Wisconsin. It gave you a different insight into music. It wasn't just hip hop music or this kind of music. Your family did one kind of music. You got to hear other kind of music, and then you were able to develop your own sound and really what you which you wanted to follow. That's super dope.
I mean, my music in the 90s was, you know, Sublime and Snoop and
see, that's,
you know what I mean? And, you know, just, you know, two polarly different things. But, you know, I was into skateboarding, and I was listening to like even like punk rock and stuff at that time. And, you know, it's all kinds of different stuff. But, you know, my dad being a musician, he was a guitar player and a bass player, and between my dad and his brothers, they played 50 some instruments. My grandfather sang barbershop quartet. You know, they recorded and toured with the Allman Brothers and the Doobie Brothers.
Oh,
and they've
wow.
got like 12-inch records with, you know, my dad and his brothers on the front as kids playing instruments and stuff. So it's, you know, I mean, it's
music's in your soul.
It's there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different stuff going on. And you know, like I'd be driving down the road with my dad. I'd be 10 years old. It'd be, you know, someone come on the radio. He'd be like, "What's this?" You know, it could be Van Halen, or it could be Michael Jackson, or it could be whatever. So, you know, like, you know, the exposure that I had to music was really wide.
Yeah. No,
and I appreciated that.
Yeah,
you know?
that's super dope. And that's got to help you now as a DJ to be able to feel the crowd out, to feel what's going on, to know, just because you have such a vast ear for music.
Honestly, it does. And, you know, there was a time where I tried to just be a house music DJ or just be a hip hop DJ. And I've ultimately learned that I'm an open format DJ. I appreciate all types of music. I listen to all types of music. You know, hip hop has been probably where I've more well known and broke through, you know, but I like all of these things. So being an open format DJ, I can play hip hop, I can play house, I can play funk, I can play soul, I can play a rock song if I need to. And, you know, if I have to, I can play a country song. You know, there's people that like it. So
see, that's a dope DJ to me. Right. That's a DJ. That right there is a DJ to me. Put you in any situation, you'll come out spinning a record.
The thing that I like about DJs is you can, you know, I think they're some of the bravest people in the world. We can go anywhere, not know anyone, and go into the room, and you're expected to be the life of the party, the vibe, the show. You set that vibe, and, you know, you're either making or breaking somebody's event with that. You know what I mean? So, you know, I respect a lot of DJs, and you know, it's something I really love about being a Violator DJ. Our slogans: leave no DJ behind. And it's not even about being a Violator DJ. It's about taking care of the DJ culture and the DJ community.
Man, that's really incredible. So you sort of find your path. You don't want to be a musician, you don't want to be a singer, but you're finding your path, and you're like, cool, I'm gonna be a DJ. You mentioned you moved out to Colorado, then you came back working on radio stations. When, I'm trying to think how I could put this, when did you know you wanted to really start helping artists? Because that's how I met you, because you were, if somebody wanted to work with a DJ, if you were an artist and you wanted to find any level of success, go talk to Fusion, go talk to DJ Fusion, and he'll help you out, play your record, or as long as it sounds good. I don't want to just sit here and say play anything, but, you know, and having many conversations with you, your goal has been to help artists in some way, shape, or form, if you can, and if they're willing to help themselves. When did you really start that mission where you were like, okay?
You know, I'm not really sure when I started that mission. You know, at the end of the day, the journey of being the mix show DJ had evolution. And it wasn't about just mixing. And, you know, in a lot of the culture now, you know, you get on the microphone and you got to work the mic. But with my situation with like 93.1 Jamz, they were like, no, you're on it, you know, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 1 a.m., unhosted hours. No one's before you, no one's after. So I couldn't really get up on the mic there, you know, so I had to kind of adapt the content. And I started getting opportunities from the record labels to interview celebrities, to interview artists, you know. So I had to figure out, where am I going with these opportunities? And I also started making mixtapes. I learned about the mixtape culture. So I started making mixtapes of just music I liked. And then it grew into, I interview somebody, I do a mixtape with them or featuring their music. And then, and it started with celebrities. So it was like, okay, I didn't even know local artists at the time. I knew a few. The first person I met when I moved to Madison was LUV, Keon.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite people, one of my favorite artists. But, I didn't really know a ton of artists. And, it was a growing thing. It took some time. But the mixtapes in itself, once I started putting those out and the internet took off, like MySpace time. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
I gotta date myself. Once I started taking those mixtapes and putting them and pushing them out to the internet and pushing them out to a wider spectrum, that really brought in the opportunity to start networking and working with more artists. And then I started to learn like how many artists are in this community. And I met Gary Knowledge, which is if anybody knows anybody, like from 10 years ago, you couldn't get a show in Madison if you didn't know Gary. So, to be, introduced to Gary and just really get a really great relationship with him, he introduced me to a ton of artists here. And I just started networking with them, featuring them on the radio. I'd play one of their songs here and there, play them on my syndicated shows across the country when we'd start doing mixtape projects and stuff. So it wasn't expected and it wasn't a goal, but it came with it. It became part of respecting the culture, respecting, the people that make the music that I play. And also really learning the roots of where hip hop and the music industry came from.
Oh, that's super dope. Man, that's incredible. Now, as we keep fast forwarding, high school, Madison, radio station, doing shows, working with local artists. Somewhere in there, the mission didn't change, but how you went about the mission, I think is the best way I could describe that changed. Because all of a sudden, that doesn't mean you stopped working with artists. And I don't think there's ever been a time where you didn't work to help the community. It's just now it seems the community has become the focal point.
Yeah, the philanthropic end of the stick is definitely a little bit bigger right now. But I think that's also part of growing up, part of being an adult, part of, I'm a father now too. You are as well. My kids are growing up and, you want to make sure that your kids have good examples and that, we're not always going to be here. Right. So when I'm not here, I want my kids to be out in the world and making me proud and knowing that, I taught them how to be good people and how to be good community members and how to respect other people, but also how to be themselves. But the journey though, the philanthropic end of it came, I started looking at how do I get to the next level at 93.1 Jamz? How do I take from just being the weekend mix show guy to, I went from the weekend mix shows to like hosting the Saturday, Sunday afternoons, and I got the Friday night show or the night shift show, weeknights. And I had to figure out like, how do I take this to the next level? How do I like really use what's here and what has everybody that's been before me not done? And when I really looked at it, everybody that came on before me, and it's no disrespect to them, but they weren't from here. They weren't from Madison. They weren't from Wisconsin. They all moved here and were relocated here and left. And there's a thing in radio where you go, somewhere for 2 or 3 years and you leave and you bounce around. And that's not radio for me. I'm from Madison and, like my on-air personality, radio started and is going to end in Madison. Like, I'm not going to be that guy that every, 3 years I'm applying to another station and bouncing around. I'm not going to be the guy that comes here and says, hey, I like my other city better. I'm not going to do negative things like that. And I'm not going to be leaving anytime soon. So how do I take advantage of that? And everybody that was before me, like, really had no connection to the community, didn't have a big interest to the community. They had a passion to do the radio and do good radio, and they did great at that. But, you know, it's how do you get the people to believe in the station, not in me, in the station? Because, like, I'd wake up and get on social media and see people complaining about it. Oh, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I need. Okay, well, how do we change that? How do you make that better? And you can't do it overnight, you know? So, you know, just picking one battle at a time. We started the local love show, you know. We could put local artists on the station weekly, you know, give them an outlet to be on. We're a station here in Madison. You know, there's 8 radio stations in the company I work for, and 5 of them have local showcases, but the hip hop station didn't. I've got artists, you know, coming out of all ears here, you know, like, you know, I got a Rolodex of artists. I probably have the biggest collection of independent music in the state. It's probably a little dated now, but, you know, I've got tons of music from people. So we started out the local show. I took all this music I had from the mixtape days and I edited out the best material and I put it up. Yeah, some of it was old, 2, 3 years old, 5 years old, whatever, but it was good music. It was independent. It was made right here in Madison. And, you know, and then I started taking submissions for new music, you know, so here we are, I don't know, 5, 6 years later, and I've got local music, independent music made in Madison on the radio 7 days a week, supporting the Sunday night show. You know what I mean? So that was that's where we started. And then, you know, like, giving back to the community, you know, I started the Gifts of Christmas program. And then we have the back to school, you know, backpack community giveaway, you know, and then we have, I started it out as a Black History Month type thing, but it's a Black business. It's a podcast that celebrates and elevates Black businesses. And I started it out to be something that ran during Black History Month because we're a hip hop radio station. We're pandering to Black culture. We're playing Black music. I've been there for 10 years. There's never been a time where we did anything during Black History Month. And so I started it out then, and the community really, really deeply engaged with it. But we had to figure out, like, how do you make this something that isn't just February, because excellence happens every day. So, you know, I took and expanded that platform out and really grew upon that and made that work. So I kept looking at, like, how can I connect the people to the station and eliminate the things that people don't like, right? You know, take myself out of the equation and look at what people really need. You know, I did that with DJing, and it was one of the better things I did, teaching other kids, right? And then having, you know, 10, 12 other DJs that would work for me, under me, and helping them book and renting them equipment, taking myself out of the equation. Obviously, I'm getting older all the time too, but taking the resources that I have and have worked hard for and opening them up to them, giving them sound system, like, you know, letting them use sound systems, lighting rigs, making sure that, hey, if you get booked at a show for 1,000 people and you've got a $200 controller, like, you still have to have the speakers and the lights and the mic and all of this. So, you know, removing myself and enabling others to grow, you know, serve the community accordingly, and you'll profit accordingly, right? Too.
Yes.
You know, in more ways than one.
Yes.
You know, so.
Oh man, it sounds like on this podcast, we spend a lot of time talking about mentality, mental wellness, quote unquote, and just taking control of your own life. And it sounds like you found that moment, what do they call it, where almost destroyed the ego. You remove the ego from the equation, or never let the ego become a part of the equation with the radio station. How can I serve others? How can I serve others? And it always comes back. It always comes back. It's one thing that I think all of us can agree upon in this room. When you get, whatever you give out is coming back. So if you give out positive energy, if you give out love, if you give this out, it's going to come back. It might come back in finances. It might come back in other people doing well for you. It doesn't matter, but it's always going to come back. And so you talked about Christmas. You talked about back to school. First of all, I couldn't believe it when you walked me through, I think it was 2 years ago, walked me through, was it the basement? It lower level, whatever. And when I tell you the amount of gifts, I'm like, I don't know how many kids are going to have probably the best Christmas they've ever had, ever. And it was so mind-blowing. First of all, kudos to you, sir, because that if maybe you probably know this already, that is literally changing kids' lives. That's utterly changing someone's life. And we all do community work, whether it's nonprofit work or fundraisers, whatever the case may be. How does that, when Christmas is done or Christmas morning and you're at home with your own family, how good does that make you feel knowing you did that?
There's a huge emotional moment, but it comes well before Christmas morning. But it's also, we're on 4 or 5 years, 6 years of it now. But I have my kids do it with me. My kids come and help me buy the gifts. They help pick out the stuff. They're a part of the process. But Christmas morning, it's amazing. But at that point, I got shut off from the other world and like clock out. But like Gifts of Christmas, it's an amazing program that grew from a $10,000 whim to a $100,000 annual event. And I mean, it's a $100,000 event that I pull off. Like last year, I think it was an $1,800 budget. That's what I had to come out of pocket for. Like everything else is donated, given, traded, put in the effort to make happen. And, there's this, it's a really, like everything else that I do, it's a really grassroots type movement. We're not just looking for somebody to come in and donate some money and walk away and we're going to take the credit. Like we're asking you to donate money. We're asking you to come to the event. We're asking you to see the people you're helping and help serve them. So we provide gifts. And it's more than one gift per kid. We give 3 to 5 gifts per kid. They get books from the Madison Reading Project. We have, depending on the year, we've tried to provide food, and we always have snacks and hot cocoa and different things like that. But what we do is I've partnered with the Sylvie and FPC Live, and we turn the venue into a Christmas village for a day, and the families come. And the center of the Sylvie where the pit is, where the dance floor is, I put up like 60 tables, and we just fill it with toys as high as we can, and then we fill the stage with toys, and the families come in and they have the autonomy to pick things out, multiple items for their kids. And it's not about the price, it's not about what it is. It's about making sure that, your kids get something that they want, something that they need, something they would use, and that you have an experience. So, a lot of the families that we're aiming to serve are living in cars, in hotels, single moms, low income households, and some of them are going to visit other toy drives, and we expect that, and that's okay. But we want to make sure that, for us, it's not about the gift. It's not about the amount of the money. It's about bringing the family together and about building community. So we do free Santa photos. If you guys got kids, $50 to go to the mall and get a Santa photo, right? And you don't even get an actual photo; you just get a digital print, right? That some of them will text it to you. It's ridiculous, right? Yeah. So that's $50, and then you're just going to spend a couple $100 on some presents. Like if you don't have a place to live, you're living in a car, you don't have any of these things. Like being able to come and escape your reality for a couple of hours, be with some other people that care. Like They come, they pick out the gifts, they pick out what they think their kids are going to like, then they take it over to a table, and we wrap those presents for them. And the bows, the whole nine. And while the presents are getting wrapped, they go and they get hot cocoa and some cookies, and they can go over to a table where the Madison Reading Project is set up, and they can get free books for their kids. And if they have their kids, and they don't, some people bring their kids and let their kids pick out stuff, but other people need to bring their kids and don't want them to know. So we got a volunteer center, and people, the kids hang out there. So the parents will go pick things out. And then once they drop it off to get wrapped, they go grab the kids and get hot cocoa, get a Santa photo, get some books. And by the time you do that, then your presents are wrapped. And, you kind of hang out and talk with some other families, have a moment, have some laughs with the kids, lots of hugs. And it's a highly emotional experience. And, on average, we serve 700, 800, 900 kids with free gifts, not just one gift, but multiple gifts every year. And it's growing exponentially fast.
What I loved about that is watching you both light up and watching you just fill up talking about it. That was incredible. Man, what do you need, or let me rephrase that. What could people who are watching, people that will watch, people that at any point want to help, where can they go and what can they do? I've just set the date for this year's Gifts of Christmas. Madtownjams.com, the 93.1 Jamz website, is probably the best place to go. You can find all the information on last year's event, and you can find all the numbers. In the 5 years that we've done this, we've served almost 3,000 kids with gifts, and each year, partnering with 25 to 30 different businesses. But I will have marketing materials available soon. But if you go to madtownjams.com, you can find the information there about the event itself. And you can also get my contact information right on the page. We're looking for all kinds of things. I mean, the event itself, serving 800 kids in a day, serving 300 families, takes a lot of people. It's 200 people on average every year in volunteers. So if you're not somebody that, you don't got deep wallets or whatever, but you still want to give, we need people that want to wrap presents. I'm looking for people that want to hang out with kids and read books or, colors, or if you just want to, one of the coolest parts about it is kind of living vicariously through through these kids' toys. If you've never done it, shopping for $20,000 worth of toys is an experience in itself too. So, and that's part of the other reason we don't just ask people to donate money. You got to fill up a cargo van or box truck full of toys. You need a bunch of people to move them. You got 40 shopping carts worth of toys. I'm not moving that, and you can't clip them all together. You know what I mean? So we need people. We need people that care about community and look forward to giving back. What was that date again?
It is going to be in December, but we're looking for volunteers coming up probably as early as October. And I don't publicize the date of the actual giveaway because we're giving away $100,000 worth of stuff on average, and thousands of people more sign up than what we can usually help. The date itself is usually kind of under wraps, but it's
I got you.
First couple weeks of December is when the actual event is.
I got you.
But the fundraising starts probably around Easter weekend if everything works out and comes to plan. And then I got a couple of really cool opportunities in the summertime, and it's gonna come together. But yeah, madtownjams.com, hit that up, or you can email me, fusion@madtownjams.com, and I can give you more information.
Man, that's super.
Sadly, I've had to not publicize the date.
Yeah, that with the good, there's always a little bit of the.
There's a little bit of crazy too.
Yeah. Now, You say all that, and you would think that'd be the perfect moment. Man, thank you, Fusion. Thank you for everything. But then you have the back to school program.
Christmas is the big one.
Yeah,
right? Christmas is big, but back to school is important too. And I can't not shout out Chaos, AFGM, all of the things that I'm doing. He's a part of, but like Christmas, he was doing that on his own. And I would just give him money. He was going on Instagram Live and Snapchat, and he's like, "Hey, I got a truckload of gifts," and he did it for a couple of years. And I saw him doing it, and I was like, "Bro, what's your Venmo? What's your Cash App or whatever? I want to send you something. I want to extend the reach. And I did that like 2 or 3 years, and then 2019, 2020. Pandemic hit, and the world changed, and the world needed help more than ever. And that was also coincidentally the time when I got the opportunity to take more of the reins at 93.1 Jamz and get a little bit more, I wouldn't say control, but influence in what's happening. And that's where that grew. It went from a Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, social media thing to an actual event. And it just kind of blew up, and we took it to the radio, and in 2 weeks' time we raised like $10,000 in donations, and just gave it back out to people. And then the next year it was like 30,000. And then it was like 60,000, and like it just keeps growing and growing, right? So this is really good, but it's like, how can we maximize that outreach? So we partnered with a couple of different toy stores, and they enable us to buy at wholesale. So if I raise the money early, I can double up what we get, because wholesale is essentially basically 50%. Like if a toy is $100, your wholesale price is $50. You got to usually buy a lot of items to do it, So raising the money early helps us to do that, and it also helps to really support those businesses, because it's not Walmart and Amazon or any of those big box business stores. It's mom and pop stores here in the Madison area, in the Stoughton area, and we come in and give them $5,000 or $10,000 to, put onto an order they're already making. And now it helps them look good with their distributors too, with their wholesalers. And it helps to just bump up local economy. So there's a lot of pluses with that. But the back to school backpack drive is a little bit smaller, but it's still really, really significant too. And that's evolved. But every year we come up with 300 to 500 backpacks, and we fill them with basic school supplies. So, we go up on the MMSD website, see how many notebooks, pens, pencils, things like that they're looking for. And we figure out, okay, we got 400 backpacks. I need 800 spiral notebooks. We'll need 1,600 folders. We figure out all the different things that we need, and we put them into the backpacks. And then, the families come and pick them up. And, it's cool, but we also got to this point where you'd get 2 weeks into school, or you'd come back from Christmas break or Easter break or spring break or whatever, and kids wouldn't have a backpack. So how can we use the resources to not just be another number in August, right? There's 30 different backpack drives on the same weekend. So how can we work in a better way to how can we be a resource instead of just another number? There's nobody that should be, 2 weeks into school and still not have a backpack, still not have pens or pencils or something like that. So the evolution of that has grown to, now we have resources year round. I got a freaking locker, 10 by 10 storage locker of school supplies. And, I've worked directly with social workers and community organizations to distribute direct to it, and I'm working with a few different schools too. But, most importantly, community relationships, the Madison Reading Project, who also comes to the Gifts at Christmas drive. They offer free books to teachers in schools. So the teachers are already coming there to get things. So now Drew and myself, a big shout out to Drew Mitchell-Gelfie. He's a really huge member of the Gifts at Christmas team and the philanthropic journey. We made a partnership with the Madison Reading Project. So we just bring books, book bags, pencils, markers, all the school supplies over there, and they've just given us a shelf, and we just stock the shelf, and the teachers just come there, no questions asked, can grab supplies, grab whatever. Nobody has to know who it's for, where it's going to. It's completely anonymous, and it's just getting back directly to where it needs to go, free. Nobody has to pay for anything. So, if you want to help now, you can always donate. You can drop off at the radio station 7 days a week. You can drop off book bags, school supplies, all kinds of different things. Even, feminine supplies for teens. We get a bunch of those too that have kind of come along the way. Like, there's a weird evolution of things that happen, but there's needs, and people can't always buy some things that are essential.
Yeah.
And some of us have the ability to, I know somebody who's got 500 extra, cases of pencils. And I know 30 teachers who don't have no pencils for their kids. So we put these people together, right? And I don't need to be in that. You know what I mean?
Man, that's
the people that, help make that happen, like they like to see that too, you know what I mean? So, it works out in a lot of ways too, to not just be another number, to not just be like, okay, there's 43 different backpack drives. Everyone's going to just drive around. Like, okay, let's take some of these resources and make sure that this child that's 2 weeks into school that still doesn't have anything, who maybe their parents were just too proud to go to a backpack drive or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know everybody's situation, right? But like, there's still people that are in a situation and may not ask for help. So how can you make a difference and just do something because you feel good about it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's incredible. Now, is the checklist of items that people can donate for kids that are in need, that are in school, is that online as well?
There's not one generally online. Most people, though, MMSD has put out lists of stuff like that. That's where we get it from.
Okay.
But if you ever have any questions and you're like, hey, maybe I want to donate something, but I don't know, you can always inbox me on any social media, or you can hit fusion@madtownjams.com. There's no bad question, right? If you're in a position where you can help, do so. Do so. Reach out and I know people that need things, and they need school supplies, they need backpacks. We need people that are interested in helping with the community. So if that's something that you think you maybe want to get into on your own, man, fusion@madtownjams.com. Hit me up.
Man, that's so dope. Fusion, man.
Just like when you told me you were gonna do a scholarship and you were asking for help,
bro, I was
promoting it, right? You weren't even like,
I didn't even want money.
You didn't even want anything, right? And you didn't want to tell me, well, how much, but I was like, bro, how much? What, what's the number? What does this need to be, right? Because you're doing something, and I told you. I do things because they make me feel good, right?
Yeah.
I do things because it makes me feel good. So you're doing something that made you feel good, and it inspired me, right? You're like, hey, I want to start this scholarship to enable a child, a youth that doesn't have the financial means to be able to learn or even make fighting become a passion, and becoming part of that awareness. I was like, oh, man, that's huge. And you told me the cost, and I'm like, that's nothing, man.
Yeah, see, and
it's like, if I can make a second kid, that's what it's about. You know what I mean? Like, you're making the opportunity for one kid. If I make an opportunity for a second.
No, it's so dope, man, that you asked about that. I was legit when I brought that to you. I was just like, look, I know there's kids out there. And I have some that come through the gym, and I've had since I bought the gym in 2018, I was like, I'm having these parents bring kids, and I watch them get nervous when it comes to the price. It's like, I can literally see their pride, and it's like, look, don't even worry about it. Like, I was already doing this. There's been so many kids that I've trained, and it's like, just get them in here. because if they're in here, they're not out doing something else.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
it's they're going to learn a different discipline. And with the women or with the girls, it was like my daughter was teaching at that time. Now my wife is teaching. So it's like, for me, that's a big deal that they're learning from women, seeing these women. So when you brought up the money, it was just like, I shed tears then, I shed tears now. It's just like, it fills me. It fills me. And that's.
But it's gonna change somebody's life,
yeah,
right?
So much.
In a lot of ways. They're gonna learn something about themselves. They're gonna physically change their lives. They're not gonna be, able to get into as many negative situations.
Yep.
And it's only good things that are gonna come from it, right? Part of the journey, part of the philanthropic journey, removing yourself from that situation, is making opportunities for people.
Yeah.
To do them, right? To be themselves, to discover themselves. And like that's these kids, the youth, like they're our future. They're the next generation. Like, if we don't empower them to have new opportunities, to try new things, like, who's going to?
Brother, there's so many. I have this discussion with people sometimes. Everyone, there's a lot of people that talk a good game, or they'll put up a poster, or they'll put up a flag, or they'll put up something, and great, cool. The next question is, what are you doing? It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to do it. And you literally walk the walk. Like, you literally walk the walk, and you always have. It may not have looked like this. And I don't care if you can try to be as humble as you want to be right now, but I'm going to have my moment of giving you some kind of flowers, because there's only two people that I have legitimately met when I first started, when I had nothing and I was trying to do something in music, that literally didn't ask for anything and gave back. And you and DJ Payne 1. I was going to use his government name, DJ Payne 1. I almost used the government name like Thank you.
You want to know a really awesome thing, man? I taught him how to use Serato, how to use Scratch Live. Like,
man.
Like, we were all vinyl DJs.
Yeah.
I taught him at the King's Club, of all places. I taught him how to use digital DJing. Or showed it to him.
Yeah.
And I would say within a month he had that.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. You've always given back. And it's funny, the three of us are sitting in this room, right? And when people ask me about Corey, I'm like, you don't understand. I'm like, I met Corey at a basketball game. It was a basketball tournament.
On the south side?
Yeah, DJ, his own basketball tournament over at Penn. I can't remember the DJ's name, but anyway. And then I'm like, Corey did the coolest thing. He asked me and DJ Fusion out to a meal to sit down and just ask questions.
Yeah.
And you've always helped other people out. Always. Now, I also understand how annoying that could be sometimes working with artists. And you give, and it's like, it's never enough. But you've always done it. You give back to the community. I don't think there's ever been a fundraiser or something that within the hip hop community that you haven't helped in some way, shape, or form at, like, that I've either seen, been a part of, or whatever the case may be. You have literally walked that walk since day one that at least I can only co-sign from 2008, 2009, but I've seen it and it's been incredible to watch. As you go forward, what is your goal? What is your vision? What is your goal when you look at all the things that you're doing?
Honestly, don't know that I spent a lot of time really thinking about that beyond being like a really great dad, you know, being a good role model to my kids. Like, I'm not a perfect person, right? And I'm not trying to be a perfect person. I won't say I'm perfect. I have my faults like everybody else, but I want my kids, you know, like, you know, my wife's mixed. I have mixed children, and you know, the world's not perfect either. Like, we face a lot of different things in this day and age. 2025, you'd think racism isn't a real thing, but it is. You know, I mean, my mixed children, you know, have experienced it as early as 6. You know, not, you know, just I'm not going to get into the deep end of it, right? But like, you know, just showing them like, hey, we need to be good allies. We need to look out for other people. We need to do things that feel good, but we also need to be ourselves, right? Like the goal, you know, make the community a better place. You know what I mean? Use my platform to really, you know, bring, you know, I would, you know, to strive for, you know, equality, you know, in our community, like, you know, make sure everybody has a good opportunity. I don't know that I never necessarily set out with a goal other than to do what makes me feel good. You know, like if I feel good about what I'm doing, I'm going to go to sleep good at the end of the night. I'm going to wake up great tomorrow. I'm not going to feel bad about it. Like, you know what I mean?
That's a great goal. Wow.
You know, helping.
That's a super dope goal. It's so simple too. Like the simplest things are always the best things. Usually,
it connects to 365 straight days of happiness.
Yeah, what Bang was talking about with his book. Yeah,
just had that interview.
You know, I want to watch that. That sounds interesting. But I want to give a shout out to Jackson, Jackson's Yard Care. Jackson, you guys know Jackson. You know, there's something he always. He nothing ever bothers that man. He's just cool all the time. And I wish I could be that. You know what I mean? Like, I might look like it at times, but like, you know, like, nah, man, like, you know, things bother me. I get anxiety, all kinds of different things, just like everybody else. You know, but I wish I could be more like that, where just those small things didn't
bother
get to you. Yeah, you know what I mean? Where it rolled off, but, you know, but it's not the case for everybody. You know what I mean?
That's incredible. What a dope goal.
But even with the artists, the evolution of that, like, you know, I'm a DJ, but I won't work a show with artists. I won't perform with them anymore. Like, that's, you know, that's a different thing. But, you know, like my thing though is information, right? Misinformation is the biggest problem in the industry. Artists aren't taught what they need to know. They're not shown the proper way to go. And, you know, like I'm always, you know, with that, but I also have this radio station, right? Like, I have not only, you know, 50 to 80,000 people listening at any given point to 93.1 Jamz. I have a syndicated show on 10 other stations that even airs in London, England. You know, I'm reaching over 1 million people every week through the music, right? So give me your music and let me put it in there. And I don't ask you for any money for that. I don't want anything for that. I want an email. I want the clean version of your song and the instrumental, and not a headache, right? Like, give me your music. Let me put it on there for you. And, you know, like, you know, appreciate what that is. Appreciate that you can get, you know, 50 Shazams in Madison and 100 Shazams in Los Angeles and a couple bit more, and look at the bigger picture. Like, yeah, I'm not going to come on the stage and DJ your show and DJ for 10 other artists. I did that, and we learned a few things in, you know, at the end of the day, I'm an artist as much as the other artists are, and we're vying for the same stage. And oftentimes, like, if we're gonna be real about it, let's go dollar for dollar. You know, as an artist, you want thousands of dollars to come in and perform for 5 minutes and then walk out and, you know, get free liquor and all this other crap. What does that make a business? What does that do for a venue? What does that do for a bar? What does that do for a crowd? Right? It doesn't do anything. You know, for half of that money, I'm going to come in and perform for 6 hours, play 15 genres of music, and make them $20,000. Like, what's the real question?
Talk your talk, music. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
You want $1,500 and a bunch of free liquor, and you're going to perform for 10 minutes and no one's going to understand what you're saying. And then you're just going to feel yourself the rest of the night. And the bar's going to wonder what happened to their money and why no one's here, you know? And for half of that, I'll come in and play the whole night, not drink a single drop of liquor. And they go home with a full till.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as a business aspect, there's not a question. There's no question, right? So when the artists are at a point where they decided, I want to take myself serious, like a brand, like a business, like, okay, like, all right, now I can take you a little bit more seriously. I did a show last night with a singer that, you know, that I got booked for a show. I volunteered to do a show, and at the start of the show, they're like, hey, we got a singer. I'm like, okay, whatever. Make sure they get me their music. Do you think they've been doing this? They've been doing this for over 10 years. You'd think they would have an idea of what's going on. I get a YouTube link. I'm like, I got no internet. Like, what's going on? You know, like, you've been doing this for 10 years. Like, what are we doing? Like, so I ask for an MP3, and the response is, well, I'm just not tech savvy. I don't know what that is. But you want me to play your music and stand behind you and like be a part of your presentation? Like, but you're an artist, you're a singer. It's 2025 and you don't know what an MP3 is. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Why am I giving you any of my time? Why am I, you know, what are we talking about here? Like, you shouldn't even be performing at this event if you don't know what an MP3 is.
They need to think about a whole different career. That's
insane, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Blows my mind. But remove my ego, remove my feelings, hotspot my phone, make it happen. And, you know, show moves on, nobody knows better. But like, that's the type of stuff that you deal with as a DJ. Like, okay, like, I'm just supposed to like have your music. You want me to, you know, like, I play turntables. Like, I don't play YouTube. I can't just, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like, I don't know, not to be Debbie Downer, right? But, you know, I mean, that's just.
But that's not being Debbie Downer. That's just being real. If they're not prepared, then what are we doing? Like, that doesn't make sense. And
yeah, you know, you'll give me a flash drive with a bunch of files on it. They're not named. It's file 1, file 2, file 3. Like, and then you know, it's like, I don't know what to do with this. So I don't know, like, the way to really like appreciate the artists and help them, put them on, you know, get me the music. I'll put it on the radio. I'll get people to hear it. I'll get people to recognize you. You know, maybe they'll add it, you know, maybe they'll get you in your Apple Music or whatever, you know, put them on. But yeah, I don't work the shows anymore. You know, that's not something that I do, actively choose not to. But there's plenty of DJs that want to. And that do, and Pain One still loves doing that. Maybe he doesn't love it, but he still does it. And
he doesn't. He definitely doesn't work. He doesn't do too many artist shows anymore. To be honest, he's okay with doing his own gig, and I think he's
like, artists, we love you, but pick your game up a little bit.
Yeah,
like, carry the weight.
He'll do a show when Ted comes. Like, he'll do a show anytime with Ted, and there's certain artists that he'll do shows with, but he's to that point. For sure, he's to that point where it's.
I want to support him, you know, and I want to help, and I want to be, you know, an ally. But at the same time, like, I've limited time. You know, there's only some. You know, I have to do gifts at Christmas, and I have to do the backpacks. I have 2 kids. I have, you know, 93 on Jamz is a part-time job for me. It's not even a full-time job. Like, DJing, being a turntablist, that's my full-time job, and I do that for almost 40 hours between Thursday and Sunday every week. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, there's just a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
But I love artists, and I love to help them, right? So you want to, you know, get your stuff on the radio? Yeah, I'll help you, right?
How would a DJ link up with you? Because I haven't mentioned it, but Average Savage, DJ Neglect. I don't know where Average Savage is from, but I don't even know if it's a man or woman, but they have been like
in the chat,
blowing up.
Right. Yeah, Fusion at madtownjams.com, at King Fusion. On TikTok, it's at VDJ Fusion. Hit me up. You know, at 93.1 Jamz, we do guest mixes on the Throwback Lunch, you know, Monday through Friday. If you want to mix up some throwbacks, you know, send me a 13-minute mix, all clean music, you know, 7 years old or more, and, you know, put it on.
They said they have like they're still working vinyl, or I seen something that they're
Well, if you're working vinyl, you're definitely working throwbacks. So,
yeah,
you know, they stopped pressing vinyl in like 2008, you know, commercially. You know, I mean, they never stopped pressing it, but it's like, as far as DJ singles and putting it out, 2008 was like the end of the line. Like 2010, it was like done. And, you know, then CDJs took over.
Yeah. Well, then here you go, Average Savage. No more just talking about it. You have his email in the comments.
This has got to be hip-hop and R&B and clean.
Boom. Hip-hop, R&B, and clean.
13 minutes.
Oh,
Scratch it up a little bit.
For a dope DJ.
Shouldn't be a problem. You should be able to get 6 to 8 songs in there.
Man. So before I let you go, it's very apparent DJing is still like your passion, your love. What about your kids? Is this something that you're showing them, or just?
I tried, you know, I mean, I tried probably too young maybe, but you know, now, you know, my kids need to have their own journey, have their own thing. You know what I mean? Like if they ever express, you know, an interest again beyond, you know, what I've tried, like, oh yeah, absolutely. But, I absolutely, you know, would try to push my kids into the philanthropic end of things and giving back. I don't think that I would push my kids to be in the entertainment industry and to pursue the life of being an artist as I did. And I love my life and I love what I've, you know, have and built, but like, you know, like you could do a lot of different things, you know, and I want them to choose their own path. I don't, you know, I got kind of forced into choosing the way that I'm going to express myself through life and music. And I guess forced isn't like a bad way, but like bad word. But, you know, if my kids don't want to be musicians, I don't want that. To be them, right? And my son hasn't expressed that at all. My daughter kind of loves theater and is just super dramatic and whatnot. But, you know, like I want them to be them. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, no, that's dope.
Yeah, man.
Man, we're getting old, brother.
Yeah.
We're getting old. We're getting old, brother. Like just listening to how the conversation is, it's just completely different. It's super dope.
Yeah, but I still love DJing, you know, as much as the day I started, and you know, I kind of love it more now because I know what the hell I'm doing, and I can really enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like this weekend was like 5 gigs in 3 days. I played for hundreds of people. No gig was the same, even though they're all the same.
So, is this? I think I know the answer for this one. When does DJ Fusion hang up the headphones and just like, I don't want a turntable any. I'm done.
I don't know, man. You know, the answer to that, like, you know, like, I think for me, when my kids graduate and I'm ready, I'm not planning on leaving Madison for a while, right? This is home. But I think, you know, like there'll come a time when I'm ready to try somewhere else again. And that's going to be when my kids graduate, you know what I mean? And I'll, you know, I don't need to be in the clubs every weekend at that point in time. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I'm already, you know, you already know I'm from the MySpace era. So, you know what I mean? That's enough. But, you know, like.
We don't know where it's going.
Yeah. There just comes a point, you know, like, I don't know. I mean, that's still that's still time, right? And even at that, like, I don't think I'll stop. But, like, I think like the, you know, the radio and the club journey at that point is where it's going to end. And, you know, it'll come back to more of just the passion project that it started as.
Man, that's awesome. Fusion, thank you for joining us today, man. Oh, wait, no, I'm not done yet. I just thought of this question. Oh, I don't believe I was going to walk away without asking this question. What moment in your life or when was the moment in your life where you're like, I have to take control of what I'm doing. I have to take control of my life. I have to control what I'm doing. The name of the podcast is You Control You.
Yeah.
The goal is to help people take control of their own life. Stop just, oh, it's their fault, or, oh, I can't do this, and, oh, I can't do this, and just not driving their own car. When was that moment for you?
Way too young. Just way too young. You know, probably 14, 15. You know, like in high school, parents divorcing, you know, going through that in, you know, my mom struggled with depression, and my dad was also a musician. So, you know, parents separating, you know, I have a sister. My sister went with my mom. I stayed with my dad. So at that point, I was on my own. So that's where I had to take control. That's where I had to start making decisions. And they weren't always the best ones, right? You know, I went to jail a couple of times. I made some bad choices, but it was also like shaped how and who I am now, right? And helped to like, hey, this isn't the right path. These aren't the right people, you know, and that's led to going to Colorado and making, you know, better choices. And, you know, I already had the attachment to DJing and whatnot, but way too young. And it's like that for way too many kids, right? So that's why we're out here doing Gifts of Christmas. That's why I do this. That's why, you know, every year we make sure that that this continues. It's way bigger than me. It's the community. And I was forced to have to be a man before I needed to be one, for, you know, when I should still be a kid. And if even being able to change that for one person, like, that's what's worth it, worth all the effort.
Man, you know, going through that struggle is what's made you a good dad. It's you want to make sure they don't go through that.
Right.
So it's like, it's not just the kids in the community, but it also helps build you. Yeah. It makes you want to be.
And that's, I mean, it's a pretty big conversation with me and my wife. It's a big value at our household is providing, you know, a come up that neither of us had. So, you know, we definitely appreciate that. And you know, the opportunity to be a part of this Madison community and be so well accepted here. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, being, you know, I don't do it for the photo ops. I'm not out here for the paycheck. I'm out here because it feels good and because it's the right thing to do. And I've watched too many people walk away from doing the right thing because there wasn't going to be a photo op, or there wasn't going to be a you know, a rose waiting for them at the end of the line. And that's just not who I am.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you for being a stand-up dude, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Man, you know how we do. You control you. We out.
Shit, I'm about to go wait in this place when you dropping the bass in. The beat inside the streets of awaken. I'm making to break my foot off of somebody's ass. I'm waiting for someone to say my name so I can annihilate them. Okay, then everyone was screaming the rape when I was kicking at the gate till it caved in, belly scraping by. But now I'm paid. Look at the paper I raked and I'm caking like Jay-Z and Drake. And I hate when people say that I ain't killing shit. The game is my playpen. I punch you in the face and end up breaking your break bands. I'm far from Hollywood. I'm posted up at the days in. Even though the industry say I'm the latest sensation. Drop the stuff at the board show. They're coming complacent. Mama saw me on TV with just a bum in the basement. You a Captain Saber, who you just the cake.